Hi, good evening, and welcome to my daily live session on various topics. My name is Dinakar. I'm the founder of Samutana and inventor of Do a methodology for driving teams to achieve amazing outcomes and challenging goals. And in doing so, acquire leadership skills by changing the mindset, what you see on the right side of me, and acquire the management skills by progressing on the journey towards smart manufacturing. So that's the core value proposition that we bring to the table. So you want to know more about what we do, please do visit dinakarmurthy.com or write an email to me. My email is dinakar@samutana.com. So with that very brief introduction, let me directly jump into the topic of the day, which is the introduction to smart manufacturing with the focus on product cycle. I'll come to that. Before that, what is smart manufacturing? We all know that smartness is about doing things a better way, a smarter way, a nicer way, a easier way. Easier way means that there is something which is automated. I don't do the job at all. Something the job gets done on its own, and that's what smartness is all about. And how do you get to do that in manufacturing in companies? Is by using these four topics, which is control, actuate, sense, and correct. That means you control something, and then based on that control, calculation, or algorithm, you actuate, and after actuating it, sense that in the environment, and based on that sensing, correct whatever actuation you did. That's a continuous learning process, and it's a very interesting cycle, a learning cycle which happens, which is nothing other than the PDCA cycle, a very old one. And smart manufacturing is all about using hardware and software technology for assisting to fully managing repetitive tasks within an environment or ambience. That's a very quick introduction to what smart manufacturing is all about. And now let us see, if suppose that is smart manufacturing, how would we what can we do in smart manufacturing? That's the next question. So that's what we'll talk about. So I said that this PDCA cycle is something which is the core of smart manufacturing, and that's the core of our human mind, core of artificial intelligence to continuously learn. The modern word for that is machine learning, where the machine is continuously learning how to predict, and based on that, correcting the prediction based on the data that is getting collected. So that's the concept of machine learning. So here we're talking about seven different cycles in a progressive way, so that each one serves as the foundation for the next cycle. And in each of these cycles, once there is smartness and there is some amount of technology involved for assisting us, then you can call yourself as a smart manufacturing company. So with that, let me directly deep dive into the product cycle, which is what I've been speaking since Monday. The first phase of the product cycle is the control phase, or the do phase, where one needs to get an idea as to what's the product that I'm going to manufacture. What is the product that I'm going to do business in? That's the core topic here. And to do that, there are multiple ways of doing it. Idea workshop is one, blue ocean workshop, scenario and mega trends, hackathons and innovation workshop. In all these cases, to a great extent, I'm sure in the next coming years also it will be the same thing. The human intervention, the human involvement is extremely high. So it's not easy to make these things smart, because though they seem to be repetitive, you may be repeating once a year, but still everything is extremely customized, extremely unique. So there's no concept of finding patterns and then doing the same thing the next year, because it will be a totally different thing because of our very uncertain and VUCA environment in which we live in today. So that's the first part of the product cycle, and then comes to manufacture the product cycle. And here a lot of things can be automated, can be done using smart concepts, starting from CAD CAM with DNC for making sure that the programs are transferred automatically to the computer machines from the CAD designs, or additive manufacturing, where I spoke about the 3D printing is what it is called as popularly. I use the word additive manufacturing because it's a generic term for various activities, not just 3D printing. 3D printing is one of the additive manufacturing processes. Otherwise, there could also be additive manufacturing using electrolytes. It could be a chemical process, could be electrochemical process. Multiple processes are possible with which additive manufacturing can be realized. And then the next one would be vendor establishment, where again a lot of technology could be used for data mining, filtering, and then understanding what kind of a vendor we are looking at. So that kind of a filtering algorithms are possible. Then in the prototype manufacturing itself, There is a tremendous amount of scope in terms of automating the data collection and then trying to understand what was the cause and effect. And for that, again, automation is possible. A lot of experimentation is possible. ANOVA, I think you must have heard of that, analysis of variance, because the key of any improvement is to analyze the variance. Moment the variability is less, then it means that the system is more stable. So therefore, variance is a very, very key area, and that's something which can be analyzed using the various tools and techniques. Then I spoke about trying to get a feedback from the market. That is what I said. I spoke yesterday. How do you get the feedback? Focus group for response and study analysis. I said I showed the way we do it for DoHow, where I have got multiple forms in Microsoft Forms, and they are used as survey questionnaires. And for the pitch deck, I'm sure that is something which is very, very interesting. I also have done some pitch decks. It's really very, very eye-opening. The person who is listening to you will very quickly understand what is the core essence of what you're doing, and then try to tell you whether it's really valuable or not. And when I did the pitch deck, whoever was present there, they said it's a wow thing, absolutely fantastic what you're doing. But what needs to be done is it should be packaged in a better way in terms of selling. So I'm not really an expert in selling or marketing, though I have done help some companies with blue ocean strategy for evolving their marketing concept. So that's one area where they said we could do it, and that's what we are working on to really make sure that the packaging is much better. And that's the evolution which I've been having all these years. And then function cost analysis is another thing which I said which can be done using Excel files. But again, people are involved there because in the product cycle, lot of human intelligence is required because it's a creation phase. And then comes the standard cost and project calculation. For this, automation can be done. There are apps available and calculation templates are available. So with that, you would have done the basics, like you have done had the product idea, uh, uh, made the minimum viable product, and after that also understood the potential and profitability. Now the next question is, what are we going to do with this? Now we check the potential and profitability here, and once it is checked, what do we do now? Okay, whether we can go to the next cycle or not, that's the key question, because if we can progress to the next cycle, then we go to the next level of doing the process development, process cycle. I said the next one is the process cycle. So we could do that provided there are two conditions met. This is something which is very key. You please listen to me carefully. One is stability, the second is capability. There are two different distinct activities. Stability has a lot to do with competence, has a lot to do with understanding the skill, because once you are able to do something subconsciously, once you are able to repeat some process effectively and efficiently, then normally it becomes stable. That means the result can be consistently guaranteed. Whether the result is acceptable or not is a different story altogether. But then the way we are working will always give us that result. You know, it doesn't really make sure, it doesn't really change the result. The result always constant. That is stability. Stability means that the variability is less. That is what stability is all about. And the variability is consistent. That is what stability is all about. When you look at capability, that depends a lot on what your desires are, what your requirement is. If let us say your requirement is that you need to have zero variability, then you need to have very high capability, because the variation comes because of the small inconsistencies in whatever that we are doing. And to avoid that, improvement has to be done. And to avoid that, the entire process has to be relived. Learning cycles have to be intensified. That means to improve capability, one needs to really get involved in multiple learning cycles, whereas to improve stability, one needs to look at the basics. That's a fundamental difference which I can talk about. So in this case, first thing is to check if it is stable or not. If it is not stable, that means in this case, what do we mean by stability for product idea, minimum viable product, and potential and profitability? When I say stability, that means the process of generating the product idea was something which was smooth, and it didn't have any barriers. Whether the product idea was good or not is a different thing altogether, but we could do it smoothly. Then came the next one, minimum viable product. Yeah, we had various tools, and we used multiple options, vendors, ecosystem, etc. And again, it really went through clearly. There was no concept of continuously having queries, continuously having rework. That was not very common. That is the next portion of it. When we check the profitability and potential, again there, the entire flow was smooth. So when you have got smooth flow, then there is stability. Whether the flow is fast enough or not, that is what capability is all about. So now if that is stable, then we say it's one step is reached. Then we can talk about asking on capability. Is it capable or not? If the stability is not there, then what we need to is to get back to the inner circle in this case of checking whether the goal itself, whatever we set out to do, is that something correct? Do we have to change that? Should the boundaries be changed? Should the territory be changed? Should the target market be changed? Should the product domain be changed? Or should it be adopted? Should it be modified? So that's the question which one would ask. To go back to the lower cycle. If the stability is good and the capability is a problem, then one would continue doing in the same cycle. You continue for some more time till further learning happens, till the entire thing becomes quite mature. Only then we go to the next cycle. It's a very different concept which I am telling. You go to the next cycle only after you have understood this particular cycle. Otherwise, building upon the next one would really be very, very interesting, but then it won't really result in any benefits. See, business is all about making creating value for all the stakeholders and thus making money. So if you are not able to do this, perfect that particular cycle, your value creation will not be consistent and will not be stable, will not be capable. Therefore, the first thing is to check the stability and the capability, and after that, get back to the product cycle. If the entire phase, whatever that you did till now, is stable and capable, then we progress to the next cycle. So before we progress to the next cycle, tomorrow I'll be talking about what is the next activity of phase, which is the last phase of the fourth phase of the control cycle, which is set control. Then after that, actuate, sense, and then correct. So we are in the correction phase or the acting phase. I'll talk about this tomorrow, and then next week we go to the next cycle, which is the process cycle. So till then, for those of you in India, have a nice evening. For those of you outside India, have a great day ahead, and see you tomorrow with the discussion on with my thoughts on product cycle, product development, where what can be, because the product development happens only after you got the first feedback. Again, you understood the cycle. First is you do the product idea, then after that get the MVP, minimum viable product, then you get the potential and profitability checked, then you do the continue with the product development, so that there is a kind of a closed loop, and this you can call it as agile development or whatever you can name it as, but that's the way that you can get to the end very, very fast. So with that, thanks a lot, and see you tomorrow.